Hey people, Frank Cement here, working on my mini bike, and time for the frame mod to match the front forks. Show you what I got. Stand back. Right now I'm mocking it up to figure out what I'm going to be doing, and me putting that bigger tire on the front, put the frame on a slant. I want to see it level. You could tell right there. You measure it, and let's see. You go measuring. Let's see. It's about 6 inches on top of that tube, and then 6 3/4 on that tube. So it's got a 3/4 incline going towards the front, just because of that front tire, since it's bigger. So this is where raking comes in handy. I'm going to chop it off. Let's see, get a closer view. This whole piece is coming off. That thing's been welded on there 2-3 times. Just kept cutting, cleaning, and welding. So I'm going to cut this off right here and right here. Get rid of this part completely and start from scratch. I got another piece of tube with the bushings fitted in there. It's 3/4 black pipe. It's going to go in there. To rake it, I'll bevel the top part up here, and then since it's going to be cut off, let's see, right here, I'll bevel this side and take a piece of tube to go up to attach to this. That way I could adjust the angle on there to where it needs to be. So this will drop the front end to where the frame will be level. Okay, that's what this video is going to be about, me raking it. That's called a rake. So, take a closer view of the front forks. It all hooked up. See, I got the handbrake working, and then support bars. There's a little void right here. I'll probably fill this in later on. Piece of sheet metal, angle it, and fill this up. And same thing on that end. He's getting a new seat. I don't like that seat. It's not comfortable. Get old man seat, put it on there. That'll be other video. That'll be later. And I might put a fender on the back part. We'll see. Okay, let's get to work. Okay, I got the bike all tore down. Let's talk about the frame before I get the cut and everything. On the frame, I ground in permanent center marks. I got one there. I got one there to line up with the line on the board. So you know where the center is. No matter what happens, if I accidentally run the grinder across it, it'll still be there. Taking a look at the frame, I had to level the frame out because the brake has tubing that extends below the frame line. So I compensated for that, and to make sure that it's level here, I measured the tips on the peg bar, and they both equal the same. So the frame's level and it's centered on the line. Knowing that, when I look at the head-on view, the down bar is pretty much centered, but the backbone's off to the side as of right now, as the frame being welded together solid. So knowing that, when I cut off the neck here and here, This piece won't move because of the two side support bars. This will probably move anyway, just because of the tension that when you weld something, it's got pulling forces on there. It being welded on both ends, the pulling forces will still be there, but the welds are holding it into place, so that bar is under tension. Now when I cut it free on one end, this bar is going to shift, whether it'll be to the sides, up or down. It's going to shift some way because of the tension from the welds on this end. So knowing that, and this bar isn't supported until it's to the back, when I cut it free and before I start welding the other neck into place, I will straighten this bar out, make sure it is center by using my L bracket, taking this line going up. So that bar will be centered along with the bottom bar. So that's pretty much the first step for right now. This is a pretty drastic operation because I'm cutting the neck completely off the bike and both tubes are being disconnected from the neck. It's not like you're doing a full-size bike, a Harley or something, to where you're just cutting the bottom and you're bending it and then re-welding it together. So I gotta take extra steps in ensuring that the frame stays straight. Okay, first order of business, cut the neck off and straighten out the top bar. Okay, here's a perfect example of what I was talking about when I meant frame tension. This tube is not connected to the neck at all right now, and you could see when I cut through it, the cutting disc leaves a 1/16 of an inch gap for the cut, and the gap is completely closed, so this neck pushed back from the tension from all of this welding, and it cocked to the side. You could see that because you could see the cut on this side here, and it's off to the side over here. So when I cut this off the rest of the way, it's going to relieve all that tension, and then I could reset the tubes where I need to. Okay, an update on the frame before I go any further. I got the nut cut out, and I'm trying to find how far off the backbone is. When I knew that the down bar was perfectly centered, and I was right. In the process of lining everything up, here's where it's important to know where your center is. if you see the marks, this little mark here is the new center. I originally had it on this line, which tilted the front end to the right, which is why I was coming up with bad measurements. I figured out this mark was off by triangulating to the ends of the tube. I knew when I made this tube that it was spot on, a perfect curve at the ends and in the center. So I have my new center in the back here, which shifted the frame where it should have been in the first place, and this is telling me that the back end, the seat bar is welded in off to the side a little bit, but I'm not going to change that. It doesn't matter. It's the front part that I'm working on that needs to be changed. So when I line everything up, you could see that the marks. I'll get this thing in there right. There we go. Okay, that's the center line. I got a sideways line to make sure that this is going straight up. And when you look at the mark, you see the mark is dead on, so this bar is perfectly straight centered, and the mark I made before I measured anything in the center of the tubing is spot on. Now when you look at the backbone is about 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch off to the side, so I got to bend this bar over to the side to fix it and then push forward. Okay. Okay, I managed to bend that pipe straight, or the backbone. I got the bike mocked up on the center line, of course leveled out. I got the angle centered, going straight up, and as you notice, it's on that notch and it's on that notch. The frame is now square. So moving forward, we'll mount the neck back on, figure out the rake, and then take a tube. I gotta find a tube to go from here and to reattach it to the neck on the bottom for the down tube. Okay, onward and upward. Not yet. I gotta notch it out a little more on top because the frame's still going up. This would be right height with the frame sitting on it. And yeah, definitely gotta notch it out a little more. Go in a little deeper. Get a little more. Okay. I do believe I got my rake. Okay. Frame in front. Well, that's the front. In the front and in the back, they're both on the wood, so that means the frame is level at right height. I had to put that wood under the front tire because with this wood spacing the frame up with the rear tire on, that wood was under the tire to touch the ground, so that piece of wood under the tire's got to go in front of the tire, under the front tire, to even out the spacing. It's a shim thing. Anyway, the rake's done. That's the angle that I need to be for the bike to be level. Okay, I got a pretty strong tack weld underneath there, so what you see me bending it, it was holding together. It wouldn't pop off and I'd have to redo it. So I got the rake angle finished. Now all I have to do is pull it apart without changing that angle, and then I need to line it up to make sure that when the fork's at the bottom of the wheel is on the center line. That's going to be hard. Okay, onward and upward. Okay, I scribed a couple lines in the neck as reference points on both sides. There it is. Okay. Now how I'm going to check to make sure that it's pretty much straight up and down. I'm going to use this piece of all thread. I'm going to set it in there, and with it just hanging in there, it's going to be at its highest spot up on this part, and at its lowest spot on the curve on this part. Yeah, lowest spot on the curve of this part. So when it's hanging there, this rod is perfectly straight. I checked it, so I'm pretty much making a line from the top all the way down to the table, and it lines up on the marks in the center of the table, and the bike is centered, or the bike frame is centered on the lines also. So right where it's at is where it needs to be. I can tack it in a couple more times, recheck it, make sure, and then I need to bevel this, and I'm going to take a bar coming from here, go up to it for the bottom part. Okay. It be in there. Ta-da. Okay. Time to notch this part and find a piece of tube for that. I got an idea for that too. Okay, somewhere along the line I ran out of memory, so I'll be cutting this video into 2 parts. This will be brain mod part 1, and part 2 will be coming out either the same day or next day as soon as I get done editing. Rate, comment, subscribe, and share the video. It's going to hurt. Thanks, man. Bye.